Football and the radio for a long time. It's been a great partnership with us, and we are really honored to be a part of this, the 117th Army-Navy football game, the greatest spectacle in college sports, the greatest rivalry. And that's not my opinion. I share that, but that comes from the legendary broadcaster Keith Jackson. I grew up not far from here in northern Anne Arundel County, right by the Baltimore-Washington Airport, and was exposed to Navy football at a young age. My father was a Korean War veteran, was a sergeant in the Army. He also was a cameraman for another TV station in town for 40 years. Broadcast Orioles baseball and Baltimore Colts football, and did about 12 Army-Navy games when that station was an ABC affiliate. Game was played in Philadelphia. He grew up in Philadelphia, and he said, "Hey, you want to go to Army-Navy game?" I said, "Absolutely." So we drove up. We made it kind of like a family weekend to see my grandparents. But it was 1971, and Tom Cahill was coaching Army. Rick Forzano was coaching Navy. And man, I was like a kid at Christmas. I was 14 years old at the time, a freshman in high school. We drove up. My father gave me a history lesson on the Army-Navy rivalry, the presidential involvement, the pageantry, the color, the spectacular event that we now know as the greatest football rivalry of all time. And we get to the game, and you know, it's about 4 hours before the game, and I'm pulling cable with my dad and helping out a little bit. And I see over to the side, and I just started watching college football, Keith Jackson and Lee Grosscup, who were doing the game for ABC at that particular time back in 1971. And to move on to the next phase of this story, and I introduced Dick Cass, I'm kicking around, and Mr. Jackson actually came over to me a few minutes later and goes, "Young man, what do you do?" I said, "Sir, I don't do anything. I'm here with my father, who works for ABC." He goes, started talking, making small talk. He goes, last thing he said was, "Young man, you're about to see the greatest spectacle in American sports." And he was right. I was blown away as a 14-year-old by the walk-on, all the incredible pageantry of the game, and the intensity of the game on the field. Army won the game by a point. It was a spectacular game, and I'll never ever forget that event as long as I live. So now to be a small part of it as a member of the media in Baltimore is a huge, huge honor. Steve Bisciotti, the owner of the Ravens, grew up closer to the Naval Academy than I did, in the shadow of the United States Naval Academy in Severna Park, Maryland, about 5-10 miles away, and also had the same kind of connection to Army-Navy as I did. Along with Dick Cass, the president of the Ravens, they have made a commitment to the military men and women in this region and their families like no other I have ever seen. They are behind them 100%. They involve them in what goes on with the Ravens pretty much on a weekly basis, and it is very impressive to see. So our first guest is also no stranger to the Army-Navy rivalry. He is presiding over what I think is one of the great sports franchises in American sports today, the Baltimore Ravens. They won 2 Super Bowls. You can see the banners out here on the stadium. They are in first place right now in the AFC North. And from a public relations and marketing standpoint, they are second to none in any group professionally that I've ever been a part of. So please welcome the president of the Baltimore Ravens, Mr. Dick Cass.
Brief, because I know we got some Army-Navy guys here who want to get back to the practice and get on with the game here. First of all, welcome to Baltimore. It's a great honor for the city of Baltimore to be hosting this game once again. It's a great honor for the Baltimore Ravens as well. This is an important time in our city, and that's why the mayor is not here. She is being inaugurated today. She's being sworn in as mayor of the city right now. She would have been here, but for that, she had more important duties. So I'm standing in for the mayor as well. We have certificates for the Army-Navy players who are here today to recognize them as student athletes, and I want to pass out these certificates. So let me do the Army first. Andrew King. And Jeremy Tim. And for the Navy, and we're doing this in alphabetical order, but it just so happens that the first one is Calvin Cass from Navy. Gonzalez. Antonio Gully. And Amos Mason. I'll come to you. Okay, you don't need to. You've got an inch, right? Appreciate it. Thank you. Oh, wow. That's very impressive. I've got a conflict of interest in this game. My grandfather is a graduate of West Point, class of 1906. He was center on the Army team his senior year. I still have the old picture of him. I think it was only the seniors. There were only, I think, 8 or 9 guys in the picture, so I'm sure it wasn't the whole team. They didn't have helmets in those days, and he was none the worse for wear. My father was a graduate of the Coast Guard Academy and was always a big Navy fan because of that. So I remember as a kid watching a black and white television with my father and my grandfather watching the Army-Navy game. And some of the great old names that live on forever played in those games. But obviously this game is much more than just a football game. It's a great rivalry. It's a chance for America to look in and see a game and see our best young men and women march onto the field and our best young men play a game of football. And we are so proud to have you here. We wish you the best of luck, and let's have a great game. Thank you.
Thank you, Dick. And again, just to re-emphasize the Ravens' commitment to this game and the military, it's very impressive. And I know Steve Bisciotti, head coach John Harbaugh, who is a little preoccupied today. The Ravens play the New England Patriots next Monday, and that's a big game for them. But I had a chance to talk to Coach Harbaugh Sunday night after the game, and I told him that we were going to be down here, and he wishes both Coach Monken and Coach Niumatalolo the best of luck in preparing your teams for this game. Bill Wagner of the Annapolis Cap is a great friend of mine, and he knows my dad real well. My dad is in a rehab facility not far from Annapolis down at College Parkway. I was with him last night, and the last thing I said to him, I said, "Hey Dad, I'm going up to the Army-Navy luncheon tomorrow." He goes, "Oh," he goes, "Man, that's going to be a hell of a game." He goes, Army's going to a bowl game, right? I said, "Yeah." He goes, "And you know how I feel about Navy?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "And by the way," he goes, great leadership in both of those schools." And I said, "You know what? He should come and do this." And I feel the same way, absolutely. Our next guest arrived at the Naval Academy 15 years ago, and the fortunes and direction of the Naval Academy athletic program across the board, not just the football program, changed forever. Last year alone, the U.S. Naval Academy won 12 conference championships, produced 11 coaches of the year, 16 conference athletes of the year, and probably more importantly, 15 academic All-Americans, not to mention the men and women who will go on to our country when they graduate and leave. Also, not to mention, building a relationship with the business community in and around the Annapolis area and throughout this region that is second to none. Please welcome the Athletic Director at the U.S. Naval Academy, Mr. Chet Kraetzer.
Appreciate it very, very much. Well, I tell you, it's tough to surpass the enthusiasm that Keith expresses for this game. Excuse me, the history, the tradition, the excitement. Dick echoes those sentiments. We've been a part of it. We know it. We understand it. It's a fiber of who we are. Someone said to me last night after we talked to the same type of enthusiasm, same level of enthusiasm on what the game truly means. Someone said to me, well, if you really think about the bigger picture now that Ringling Brothers has retired the elephants, this is the greatest show on earth. And I just feel that way. It's more than a football game. It is absolutely a spectacle. It's an expression of incredible appreciation for the values of each institution and the great guys that represent us on the field. But as Keith mentioned, also in the classroom, and of course as they go on to serve our country and defend our freedom. So thanks, fellas, first and foremost to you. Thanks for what you do. Thanks for what you represent. There's no greater moment in sport than when the game concludes, win or lose, we come together. We just come together with an embrace that is so special, knowing that again we take our next step, in unison together, on the front line. So I first want to thank the players. I want to thank those that represent us again in such a distinguished way. Jeff, great year. I mean, really great year. Boo, great year. Congratulations to Army. It's wonderful. You know, I had a chance to watch a couple of games, and I'll tell you, I did have a chance to see a little bit of the one point of reference that we had this season when we played Temple. We did a great job against Temple. Of course, we had a little bit of a more difficult run this weekend, but you've got a really good football team, and really good guys that are really focused. No question. You know, Jeff, your job on the field, what you've done is magnificent, but what you've done as an institution and bringing the academy together the way you have, because we all know it doesn't work without the strength of an institution by any stretch. Dick, thanks. You know, this should formally then conclude, going back about 6 years ago, we talked about the War of 1812. We talked about playing the game on the front side, and then we were going to close the War of 1812 celebration on the back side. So Saturday, officially, no matter what happens, the War of 1812 celebration is over as we take the field. You got it. Corporate sponsors, Boo's going to speak specifically to the corporate sponsors, but you know, those of you that are here, we have USAA and Nabisco, Pepsi, a couple of new ones, and General Motors. Trust me when I tell you it doesn't happen without you. And the revenues that we generate go back into the athletic programs at large. So you're critically important to making it happen. And finally, what I would say before I introduce Kenny is to our guys that are here, a couple of incredible inspirational leaders, unfortunately, that are injured and won't play Saturday. I would just say that it's been a season of resilience, and the Commandant Midshipman has used that as his theme for the brigade at large the entire year. It's a year of resilience, being able to overcome adversity, be able to step up in the toughest of times. You know, when you face, no matter what the obstacle may be, you find a way to pull it together. And this team has been a team that has been resilient, but as I've observed them as well, they've been a team that's had a will to win. You don't go into a conference like the American Athletic Conference and finish the year as we have. Competitive on every single front, a magnificent year by leadership of our head coach, AAC Coach of the Year for the second year in a row, without resilience and a will to win. So it's been a marvelous season to watch these young men find a way to take it to another level and to overcome some of the challenges that would normally put any football team just out of business. So thanks, fellas, to you. Thanks for what you do. Thanks to both teams, both student athletes, and we're looking forward to a great game on Saturday. With that, Coach Niamatalolo, I mentioned AAC Coach of the Year twice, last 2 years, done just a magnificent job. We came off the winningest record in the history of the United States Naval Academy last year. Kenny is the winningest coach, and we were into a rebuilding year. Everyone but Kenny Niamatalolo and the players and his coaches pretty much was thinking along the lines of, okay, rebuild, we lose all these people, all these starters, everything else. I tell you what, 9 wins, go to a bowl game, you know, and we loaded for bear on Saturday to take on the Army. So couldn't be more pleased. And when we talk about leadership, it's personified by Kenny Niamatalolo, our head coach. Coach.
Thank you. I first of all want to do just what Chet did. First and foremost, just congratulate both players, both schools. It's kind of funny because as I sat down to do one of the interviews, I was looking at Jeremy and Andrew. I was just thinking, I'd just been watching them for a couple hours, and now here and see them in person. You know, that I've gotten to see them in a different venue. And as our team, as Chet was talking about our team being resilient, we have great young men. We've lost some guys to injuries. We also have a school that lost a brother. And in that same video I thought about was one of your brothers just watching last year's game, watching Brandon King playing a corner. You know, our motto this year for our football program is "We Will," honoring Will McCavey. So, you know, we want to beat them in the worst way. They want to beat us in the worst way. We're also 2 institutions this year and 2 teams this year that are remembering brothers that have passed on. I feel very honored to coach at this institution. It's a great place. But more importantly, it's just the people that you coach, especially the players. And somebody had asked me, and I've been at this game a long time. I've been coaching at this school a long time. And they ask you what makes the Army-Navy game special. And normally I get, well, it's America's game. It's what it, just all they represent. But I've come to realize it's much different for me. What makes this game special are the players. The players at both schools are just unique, special kids. They're unique young men. I feel very fortunate to be a coach here. I learned way more from them than they can ever learn from me. I just feel honored to coach these guys in football because this is just a game. I don't really say much in practice. In fact, they're miking. I'm not going to say the coach's name, but they're miking a coach at one of the TV programs, and they're listening to all the things he's telling the players. And I think, man, I hope they don't mic me at practice because I don't say anything. Get behind the line, buckle put your helmet on or whatever. I don't do any coaching points. But I just coach great people, and it's such a great honor for me to coach them. But us being able to go and help remember one of their brothers that passed away, and seeing their team, it just reminded me of our funeral that we had. When Will was a freshman, seeing our team come together, and just like, they want to punch us in the mouth, we want to punch them in the mouth, but we're the same people. And as I was driving here with Daniel Gonzalez and him talking about Edgar, who's his best friend, childhood friend, Daniel's one of our best players, he's one of their best players. This is a special rivalry. It's not hatred, it's respect, and we want to beat each other, but we have mutual respect for each other. So, congratulations, Jeff, on a great year. Bull, and your leadership. Dick, thank you very much for the Ravens and all that you do. It's a special organization. The city of Baltimore, I'm excited to be here. I'm grateful for my players. As I look at them, I'm grateful that they've stayed and played for me. I've said many bad things to them over the years. You guys think I'm a nice guy, but they've seen me in other forums. I'm not this calm and collective. But I coach great young men. And thank everybody for your support, all of our title sponsors, and wish you guys the best of luck. With that said, our young men that are here, obviously we got Calvin Cass, senior slot back in New Jersey, great young man, great player for us. Amos Mason, Nashville, Tennessee, defensive lineman, senior, been one of our best players. And one of our co-captains, Tony O'Gully, unfortunately got injured this past week, probably our best all-around slot back. Tough, hard-nosed young man. And I'm going to introduce Daniel Gonzalez, our team captain, got injured against Air Force, and have Daniel come up and say a few words.
On behalf of the Navy football team, I'd like to thank everyone here. I'd like to thank the city of Baltimore, thank the Baltimore Ravens for having us. We're excited for this event.
Quick and to the point, concise and to the point. Daniel, thank you. And gentlemen, thank you. Ken, great words. Chet, thanks for the leadership, making the Navy football program just a tremendous asset to not just the Baltimore area, Annapolis area, but the entire region. It is really, really evolved as a major force in this area, no question about it. Our next guest, a great friend of mine, whose last name in Baltimore is still to this day royalty, and I mean that sincerely. He arrived at West Point 6 years ago. Like Chet, he has orchestrated a monumental rise in the overall athletic picture at Army West Point. Last year alone, the cadets won 6 conference championships and featured the Patriot League Scholar Athlete of the Year in Austin Schultz. And his roots, as I mentioned, true Baltimore. His dad, Gene, grew up in the Govan section of North Baltimore, was the former commissioner of the ACC, while his 3 uncles are legendary in the Baltimore area, along with his dad, of really kind of being pioneers in the sport of lacrosse. And if you guys know anything about Baltimore, we didn't invent the game, but we'll take credit for inventing the game in Baltimore in the game of lacrosse. The Corrigan name is synonymous with excellence all over the United States. His brother Kevin is the men's lacrosse coach at Notre Dame, and his maniac cousin Lee runs the Baltimore Marathon here. And Dick Cass will tell you, this is a monumental event in itself, right on the other side of this stadium. So please welcome the athletic director at the U.S. Military Academy, West Point, Mr. Buchort.
He said he could have gone on and on. I thought he talked too much, is my take on that. Before I get started, I'm going to say tonight at the National Football Foundation, Chet Gladchuck is going to receive the John Turner Award, which is the award for athletic excellence. And congratulations. Proud to be one of your guys. On behalf of West Point, thank you for having us here today. To the Ravens, Dick, thank you to the City of Baltimore, to the Maryland Stadium Authority, to everyone here who makes this happen. It's a big deal. It's kind of like the Corrigan family. We're a lot when we show up, but it's pretty fun too. So again, we're excited to be here. To our sponsors, to USAA for what they've done to present this game and the opportunity that's provided to us, to Chevrolet or General Motors who's been with us for a number of years, and 2 new sponsors as well, with Nabisco and Pepsi. We're excited to have them be a part of what we are and to be a part of America's game. As we look at this past season, it's really been a season of ebbs and flows as you look at what it is. And I'm not going to look at Kenny because the emotion of what this is what makes these places so special. It's not just about football. It's not just about school. It's not just about academics. What you're looking for is someone that's an ultra A, that wants to achieve high on every level. And at the end of the day, it's about character. Because, you can be excellent in football, you can be excellent academically, but if you don't have character, it's failed. So what you're talking about at the end of the day, for the young men that are here, not kids, young men, it's a man's decision that you make to go to one of these academies, or a woman's decision that you make to come to one of these academies. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for what you represent. Thank you for who you are, but most importantly, thank you for who you're doing today. My pleasure now to introduce our football coach. 3 years ago, we brought Jeff in. And when Jeff came in, we had a laundry list of things to do. The good news is, after 3 years, we still have a laundry list of things to do, but we're moving. And we're moving in the right direction. I couldn't be more proud to introduce our head coach, Jeff Monkey.
Good afternoon. Thanks, everybody, and congratulations to Kenny and Chet and the Naval Academy, all you guys on the team, and your brotherhood that you represent. What a great year. And man, we've watched all year in preparation for this game. We've watched a lot of you the last couple of weeks. And you guys got an outstanding football team. You've done a great job. Thank you to the City of Baltimore. What a great city. I've coached in this game several times. Uniquely on both sides of the field, and played here in Baltimore, a great venue and a city that really embraces this game. Thanks, Mr. Cass, and I hope we pass our thanks along to Steve and Coach Harbaugh as well, and the whole great organization. We're excited to play in this game. I don't know if there's a more exciting football game to be a part of that exists. These are tremendous young men, and everybody's mentioned that. To know what they're committed to, and all their classmates who will be in the stands, the 9,000 classmates that will be in the stands, and what they've committed to stand in the gap between the freedom we enjoy and those that are trying to take it from us at some point in their careers is pretty humbling to be in a leadership position, as Kenny said, leading great young men, great young people, and we're excited. We're thrilled for the opportunity to be a part of this game here in Baltimore. And we're looking forward to Saturday. Be Navy. King, you've been nominated by your good friend over there, Tim. He said you'd be the one to talk. Andrew King, who is just an outstanding young man, our first-year captain. We've got Jeremy Timf here with us as well. He's a two-year captain, not common at an academy, but was a captain for us, voted by his teammates last year. Andrew King, I don't know if Jay Bateman, our defensive coordinator, says he's never coached a smarter football player than Andrew King. Just does a tremendous job for us. A vocal leader for our team. Makes a bunch of tackles. He and Jeremy have shared the lead for tackles in the last 2 years with our football team. And Andrew just was in Charlotte and flew in here this morning, received the Defender of the Year award, which is a special award that's given out by the Charlotte Touchdown Club for each academy. There's a defensive player that's nominated, and Andrew was fortunate enough to be honored with that award. So without further ado, this is Andrew King, our team captain.
I'd like to thank the city of Baltimore and the Ravens for hosting this amazing game. I can't wait for the fight on Saturday. I know both teams can be prepared. Can't wait to get after it.
Thank you, Andrew. Jeff, thank you. Jeff and Kenny Niumatalolo coached together here at the U.S. Naval Academy under Paul Johnson, are great friends, and as Kenny said many times, that's what this game's all about: respect, friendship, and man, they get after it on the field. That's going to do it for us. Two other notes. One, we wish the best, of course, for Vern Lundquist, who will call the game for CBS, his last college game ever with Gary Danielson and Allie LaForce. And man, what a career he's had. I mentioned Keith Jackson, the voice of college football back when I grew up and beyond. And certainly Vern Lundquist has had a major impact on a lot of these young men's lives, just watching, listening, and becoming friends with him. And also want to mention real quick, the march-ons. Navy will begin at 12:01. Army at 12:45, and one of my favorite events, the Golden Knights against the Leap Frogs parachuting contest, 2:48 weather permitting, and the exchange of cadets and midshipmen at 2:45. And before we say goodbye, on behalf of my partner Scott Whitecall, who spent a lot of time at the U.S. Naval Academy, I want to paraphrase Keith Jackson's comment to me some 45 years ago. He made it on the field at John F. Kennedy Stadium, a 100,000 seat, just monstrosity of a complex that when you're 14 years old is probably bigger than it actually was. Wooden benches, and when that place was filled, literally it shook with enthusiasm. Well, 2 years ago, the last time the game was played here, this new state-of-the-art facility, M&T Bank Stadium, shook again. But something that resonates to this day that Mr. Jackson told me was it's the greatest American spectacle in sports and the greatest rivalry. And no disrespect to Michigan, Ohio State, and Florida State, Duke, Carolina, and Auburn, Alabama. But the difference here is the young men that play in the game. No disrespect to the athletes around the country, because they are scholar athletes. And when they're done, and when they're played their last game, and I had a chance to talk to Keenan Reynolds about this a couple of weeks ago. He's now a member of the Baltimore Ravens. And he couldn't put it in perspective then when he was playing, but he can now that he's outside the game. And when you serve, these young men are going to serve the United States of America together in our military. And that's the difference. That's what makes this rivalry, in my humble opinion, the greatest of all time and will be forever. Because what you'll see after the game, to me, is probably as relevant as what you're going to see during the game. And that's both schools, both players going over for the school to sing the school songs, but the camaraderie after the game, and it is spectacular. And I hope everyone enjoys it. I'm sure you will get the word out to your listeners and your readers that there's nothing like it. Army Navy 117. Guys, thank you. Jeff, have a safe trip back to West Point Boo as well. Jeremy and Andrew, best of luck. And Kenny, of course, and your guys, go get them on Saturday. Have a great trip home, everybody. Thank you for coming. And Dick Cass, thanks for the hospitality.
Back to you, Kurt.
So many people there.
I can stand. Stand on one foot.
It'll be like, cheerleaders stuff.
Just like that, too.
Thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you. My pleasure. Thank you.
Here, a couple of minutes. We're gonna get
So sweet.
Oh, absolutely.